Nikola Jokic in a very short time period has become a household name among NBA fans. And looking across all of sports, it's one of the most unlikely stories you'll ever hear. As growing up Jokic, he was overweight, and in the NBA draft, he was getting picked next to a quesarito.
Wrapped around a beefy burrito. The new quesarito from Taco Bell.
And after putting in hours and hours of planned work, Jokic in a very short time period ascended to an NBA superstar. And despite winning back-to-back MVPs, the media at large is very critical of the Joker, and some analysts are downright dismissive of him. So with that being the case, once again, we're going to expose the media and kill every Jokic narrative. And with that being said, let's roll our first clip.
Here's my question. You both said Anthony Davis is a top 7 player? Look, I like Anthony Davis.
When healthy?
Luka, Joel Embiid, Giannis, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and Kevin Durant. If he's better than those guys, if that's what you think, by all means, okay.
We're only talking skill. What you do on the basketball court when you're healthy. JJ Redick, are you ready for this? I'd take Anthony Davis over Luka. I'd take Anthony Davis over Jokic.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So, listening to Stephen A. Smith, he thinks Anthony Davis still is a better overall player compared to Jokic. And when you dive into this, it's really mind-boggling how someone could think this in 2022. As Anthony Davis in the past 2 years has been absolutely abysmal, playing a total of 76 games, averaging 22 points, 9 boards, 3 assists on 51, 23, and 73 splits. And most embarrassing, when he plays for LA, he has a pitiful 40-36 record. Anthony Davis the past 2 years has not been a superstar, let alone a top 10 player. Comparing that version of Anthony Davis to modern day Jokic is a Grand Canyon-sized gap, as Jokic last year in 74 games averaged 27 points, 14 boards, 8 assists on 58, 34, and 81 splits. And his team record when he played was 46 and 28, albeit by Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. And one thing I do want to point out, looking at Anthony Davis, back in 2019, he had Drew Holiday as well as Julius Randle playing on the Pelicans. That roster that year only won 36 games, and Anthony Davis quite literally packed it in and gave up. My overall point being, looking at Jokic, he does more with less, he's a better scorer, the better passer, the better shooter, the better rebounder, and above all else, he's healthy when it matters most. And looking past Stephen A. Smith, let's hear Kendrick Perkins and his big brain take on Nikola Jokic.
This is the problem that I have with people that have votes in the MVP conversation, because we always moving the goalposts, and I don't understand what's the criteria for MVP. Because I come on here and I sit and I talk about Chris Paul, and I talk about his impact on winning. I talk about what he's doing for the Phoenix Suns and how they have one of the best records in the league. And then all of a sudden we come and talk about Jokic's numbers. Which
Did you hear the numbers?
I heard the numbers, but they are sitting like in the 8th or 9th slot.
Because their team is
It don't matter. Winning matters.
It don't matter.
Winning matters. And that's what I was always taught. That's why y'all gave it to Steve Nash back in the day, right?
So, listening to Kendrick Perkins, he very clearly said Jokic couldn't win MVP being the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Now, to expose Perkins very quickly, back in 2021, the year prior, he said Steph Curry was the MVP while being the 8th seed.
I'm going with Steph Curry.
You are.
Right, just think about it. A 2-time MVP, and right now we're talking about he's having the best season of his career.
Kendrick Perkins in that video clip complains about the voters changing criteria from year to year, when he himself is highly inconsistent. And looking at the final tally, Jokic in 2022, his team was the 6th seed, and Perkins still didn't have him as the MVP, compared to Steph Curry once again, who was the 8th seed and Perkins' runaway winner. Now, looking at our next NBA analyst, we have Nick Wright, quite possibly the biggest Jokic hater.
This is now one less thing that I need to worry about or care about. You know, I took my time to do research, study, care about league MVP for 70 years of NBA history. and now it's just a thing?
No, go ahead, cry. Let me see you. Let me see you cry.
Nick Wright is so over the top, so hyperbolic, because Nikola Jokic this year did not ruin the MVP, as once again individually had a fantastic and phenomenal season. And looking at past MVPs from different decades, there's been duds here and there, but we get over it and we still value the award. You have Wes Unseld, Karl Malone, Dave Cowens, even Moses Malone. Acting like Jokic himself ruined the MVP is a terrible and downright dishonest take.
And it's very, very difficult, Antoine. I know it's a regular season award, but I was told by the people who voted for Jokic that he had a better defensive season this year than Embiid or Giannis. Now, Embiid and Giannis are still playing, so we get to watch them. Does he look like he has more of an impact on defense than them? I was told by the folks that vote on this award that he and Luka are in different stratospheres. Now, Luka happens to still be playing, so we get to see it. Does it look like he has more of an impact on the game than Luka Doncic? No, of course not. But he wins this award 2 years in a row. And 2 years in a row, his team is at home when the award is actually announced. So good job, voters. I hope the Vorp gods reward you at the pearly gates, because the real-life NBA watchers will not.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
Now, a theme for Nick Wright is being dishonest as well as disingenuous, as the NBA playoffs have no impact on the MVP winner from the regular season. And once again, Jokic individually versus Golden State was simply fantastic. And I do want to point out for Jokic, in each of the past 2 years, the team he lost to won the Western Conference. And of course, Golden State this year won the whole thing, beating Boston 4-2. And as you guys know Nick Wright, he's a big fan of advanced numbers, at least when it fits his narratives. Looking at someone like LeBron James, who Nick loves, advanced stats in that case, they matter, and they're meaningful. But looking at someone like Jokic, who he dislikes, those advanced stats have little or no value. Once again exposing the double standards and the obvious bias of someone like Nick Wright, who's an NBA media hack. And staying at Fox Sports, next up, we have Joy Taylor breaking down Embiid versus Jokic and who was her MVP.
I always had Embiid as my MVP, and the issue with the league MVP for the NBA is the same every single year. It is truly a regular season award, but we don't judge the value and the success on the grand scale of professional athletes' careers based off of just what they do during the regular season, unless you're talking about a 20-year career.
Now, when speaking to Nikola Jokic, compared to the all-time greats, his playoff success might be a little lackluster. But compared to someone like Joel Embiid, he far exceeds him. As in the past 4 years compared to Joel, he dominates him in nearly every playoff stat, averaging 26 points, 12 boards, 6 assists, on 51, 40, and 84 splits. And during that time period, he's the only player in the NBA top 5 in points, rebounds, as well as assists. And compared to Joel, in all 6 categories, he clears him pretty easily. And one thing people do forget, Jokic back in 2020 made the Western Conference Finals and played the LA Lakers. Compared to someone like Joel Embiid, who in his career still hasn't made the conference finals or won a second round series.
So I really struggle to feel super excited about this MVP. It is obviously still an incredible award and an incredible accomplishment to win a league MVP, to win back-to-back MVPs is next level. But it's like, I can't unsee what I'm watching with Joel Embiid. I can't unsee what I'm watching with Giannis.
I really do struggle with this narrative that Jokic somehow ruined the MVP and devalued it. Yes, he was a 6th seed, but his overall individual year was simply fantastic. And when it comes to Embiid versus Jokic, even Giannis, this race was eerily close. And it just so happened Jokic, the guy who carried his team the hardest, won the award and got the most first place votes. And I don't want to jinx it, but for Jokic next year, he could very easily win his third straight MVP, as Denver's roster will be healthy, as was retooled. And in my personal opinion, Denver is one of the sleepers to make it out of the Western Conference. And looking at our last take, once again, we go back to ESPN for Marcus Spears and his opinion on Jokic versus Joel Embiid.
Who you got?
I'm going Joel. I'm going Joel because I think Joel can get a bucket anytime in a basketball game. And look, Jokic and the way he passes the basketball changes the dynamic when we have this conversation because they're not asked to do the same thing. But I see ability, and the ability of Joel Embiid to me is up there as far as talent with any big man that's ever played the game and stepping out to three-point range and being consistent over 30% from behind the line.
Now, listening to Marcus in that clip, he said three things that really stuck out. Saying Joel Embiid can get a bucket, he has great ability, as well as great talent. All those three things are platitudes that can apply to Jokic equally as well. My overall point being, nothing of substance was actually said, and no point was really made. As when it comes to someone like Jokic, at least individually, there's very little critiques you can have of his overall game.
But I'm telling y'all right now, if I got to take a big man first, and I have to start a team and build it around him, it'll be Joel Embiid for me, because I think he's an unstoppable force. Jokic, at times, to me, is a little slow, a little lethargic, and when you get to the offensive end of the floor, Joel Embiid is the guy that you and Stephen A. would take.
Marcus Spears, once again for the second straight clip, said nothing of substance. His only major point was saying Embiid was an unstoppable force. And at the very end, said Embiid on offense was the clear-cut better player. Now, looking purely at the offensive end, Jokic, he's the more efficient scorer, the better passer, the better rebounder, and in general, the more versatile player. And comparing Jokic versus Embiid, the one thing I always come back to is the playoffs and being healthy. As for Jokic, he's always there, always consistent, and always putting up numbers and playing great. Compared to Embiid, who yes, when healthy is dominant, but in the playoffs is rarely 100% at the top of his game.